They called it a perfect snack, rich in healthy fats, packed with protein, and recommended by doctors worldwide. But no one, not even the scientists who praised them, expected what daily nut consumption might really be doing to your body. Over the last 6 years, multiple peer-reviewed studies started noticing strange biomarkers in people who ate nuts every single day. Subtle shifts, hidden changes, not immediate, but cumulative. And now, behind closed lab doors, some researchers are asking a chilling question. Are we slowly rewiring our biology, one handful at a time? This isn't about allergies or weight gain. What they found goes much deeper, down to your cells, your hormones, even your brain. And what's most alarming? Most of us have no idea it's happening. Hit like, subscribe, and let's go. Nuts have long been considered one of nature's most efficient superfoods, a compact source of energy, nutrients, and unsaturated fats. In the modern health landscape, they've become nearly sacred. Recommended by cardiologists, nutritionists, and fitness influencers alike, nuts are everywhere, from breakfast bowls to protein bars, from keto diets to school lunches. With millions embracing plant-based lifestyles, the global nut industry is booming, and so is daily consumption. In the US alone, almond intake has tripled in the last decade. Cashews, pistachios, walnuts, all praised for their heart benefits, anti-inflammatory properties, and brain support. Supermarkets promote them as clean fuel. Scientific journals cite reduced cholesterol, better cognitive function, even increased lifespan. But here's what's not talked about. What happens when a healthy habit becomes a global routine? What if something so praised has hidden effects no one predicted? Behind the smiling commercials and lifestyle blogs lies a sobering reality. Modern nutrition science is just beginning to explore the long-term biological impact of certain food compounds when consumed daily and in large amounts. Unlike short-term clinical trials, few studies have followed what happens in the body after 5, 10, even 15 years of constant exposure. And what if the body doesn't just absorb these compounds, but slowly begins to adapt to them? As our diets evolve faster than our biology, scientists now face an uncomfortable truth. Sometimes, the most dangerous changes are the ones that feel the most normal. Because when a shift happens slowly, cell by cell, gene by gene, we don't notice until it's too late. It started quietly, not in a massive study or a breaking news report, but in the back rooms of a clinical nutrition lab in northern Germany. Dr. Lena Meritz, a metabolic biochemist, was running a long-term observational study on cardiovascular health. Nothing unusual. Her participants, 312 middle-aged adults, had adopted a clean diet, exercised moderately, and consumed a fixed daily dose of mixed nuts. The goal was simple: measure improvements in blood lipids over time. But 6 months in, the data began acting strangely. Not wrong, just off. Certain inflammatory markers dropped as expected, but others, like IL-17 and TNF-alpha, showed erratic spikes. Even more confusing, a small subset of participants began reporting subtle neurological symptoms: difficulty concentrating, emotional blunting, disturbed sleep. At first, they were dismissed. Stress, aging, coincidence. But then similar anomalies appeared in parallel studies in Canada and South Korea, all involving long-term nut consumption. That's when the whispers began in the academic community. What if this wasn't noise in the data, but a pattern? The compounds in nuts, especially phytates, lectins, and certain plant alkaloids, are bioactive. In small doses, they're beneficial. But every day, for years? That's a different equation entirely. Cells adapt. Hormones recalibrate. And not always in ways we understand. By 2021, a closed-door panel at a global nutrition summit quietly flagged the issue for further research. The findings were never released publicly, but insiders described the mood in that room as tense. Because if the theory proves correct, that certain health foods may alter our biochemistry long-term, it wouldn't just challenge the food industry. It would shake the foundation of everything we think we know about eating right. By 2023, a quiet wave of scientific papers had started surfacing, none making headlines, but all pointing in a troubling direction. One longitudinal study from the University of Tokyo tracked over 1,100 individuals with high nut consumption across 5 years. The findings? a statistically significant rise in endocrine disruptions, particularly involving cortisol and melatonin cycles. Translation: the body's natural stress and sleep rhythms were shifting. In Italy, a neurochemistry lab discovered trace accumulation of plant-derived alkaloids in cerebral tissue, compounds found most densely in walnuts and almonds. They weren't toxic in small doses, but over time, they began to interfere with dopamine regulation, subtly blunting emotional response. Not enough to diagnose, just enough to numb. In Boston, a private clinic specializing in hormonal imbalances saw a 38% increase in patients aged 30 to 45 complaining of chronic fatigue, libido issues, and unexplained anxiety. Nearly all followed what they proudly called a clean, nut-heavy diet. Still, no direct link was confirmed, and that's part of what makes this so unsettling. Because the threat isn't loud. It's not dramatic. It's quiet, cumulative, invisible. Every handful of nuts, praised by influencers and endorsed by food pyramids, could be feeding a slow internal shift, not poisoning, reprogramming. And the most disturbing part? It's happening within what's considered normal. No warning labels, no public debate, just silent changes inside your blood, your brain, your balance. So the question is no longer if something is happening. It's how far it's already gone and how many of us are already feeling the effects without realizing it. Here's the twist no one expected. The danger doesn't come from what's inside the nuts, but from how the body gradually changes in response to them. At the core of this shift is a biological mechanism called epigenetic reprogramming, a subtle process where your gene expression adjusts based on long-term environmental inputs, like food. Unlike genetic mutations, these changes don't alter your DNA sequence. They modify how your genes behave. And nuts, rich in polyphenol, plant sterols, and lectins, are powerful epigenetic influencers. In small amounts, this is beneficial. But when consumed daily, over months or years, the body begins to adapt, sometimes in unpredictable ways. A group of researchers at the Karolinska Institute found that specific compounds in almonds and cashews act on histone deacetylases, enzymes responsible for turning certain genes on or off. Their experiments on liver cells showed lasting metabolic shifts even after the compounds were removed. In other words, the body remembers. And this isn't just theory. Preliminary data from a Swiss neurobiology team revealed that chronic exposure to phytates, another compound found in nuts, may downregulate receptors responsible for serotonin uptake. That means mood changes, motivation shifts, personality slowly tilting. One lead researcher phrased it like this: "We're not saying nuts are toxic. We're saying that under the right conditions, they can reshape you." So now the question isn't just about health, it's about identity. If your daily diet can rewrite your internal chemistry, who are you becoming, and would you even notice the change? In labs around the world, the quiet race to understand the long-term biological effects of daily nut consumption has already begun. At MIT, a bioinformatics team is using machine learning to analyze massive data sets from wearable devices, heart rate variability, sleep patterns, cortisol levels, cross-referenced with dietary logs. The algorithm's early signals are clear. Individuals with high-frequency nut intake show a statistically unusual shift in circadian rhythm markers, even when other lifestyle factors are accounted for. In Seoul, researchers at the Center for Nutritional Epigenetics are conducting real-time gene expression tracking in subjects fed controlled nut-based diets over 12 months. Using CRISPR-based scanning tools, they've observed consistent upregulation in genes linked to oxidative stress response, a possible sign the body is reacting to a slow, sustained internal pressure. Meanwhile, a team in Canada is using fMRI to monitor emotional reactivity in long-term clean eaters. Their most recent scans show diminished neural activity in the amygdala when exposed to emotionally charged stimuli, suggesting not just physical, but emotional desensitization. The unsettling part? These changes don't show up in blood tests or physical exams. They're subclinical, invisible. You don't feel them until one day you do. And yet, there are no guidelines, no warning signs. Because nutrition science is decades behind neuroscience, behind genetics, behind tech. We know how to track steps, measure macros, even count REM cycles, but we still don't know what happens when the same compounds enter your bloodstream every single day for years. And by the time we figure it out, for millions, it may already be too late. Not everyone agrees. Some experts argue the fears are overblown, that the benefits of nuts far outweigh any theoretical risks. They cite decades of nutritional research, population-level health improvements, and a lack of large-scale evidence linking nuts to harm. But others, increasingly vocal, say that's exactly the problem, that we've been looking at the wrong endpoints. Health isn't just about cholesterol and weight, says Dr. Naomi Elger, a cellular aging specialist in London. It's about how your biology evolves over time, silently, gradually, and often irreversibly. And that's where the debate turns darker. Because some scientists believe we're witnessing a subtle trade-off, short-term benefits in exchange for long-term shifts we don't fully understand. A form of biological convenience, at a cost. One controversial theory? That the nut industry, now worth over $50 billion globally, has little interest in funding studies that explore negative long-term effects. Another? That daily exposure to certain plant compounds may not just dull emotion, but compliance. A calmer, quieter, more manageable population. Wild, maybe, but worth asking. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. Even if these theories are wrong, the questions still stand. Who decides what healthy means? What happens when science moves faster than regulation? Or when the very foods designed to protect us quietly begin to reshape us? We chase optimization, clean living, control. But nature was never designed to be consumed on repeat, daily, forever. So what happens when you hack your body, and it starts hacking you back? In the years following the first warnings, subtle shifts began to surface, not in headlines, but in the way people behaved. Sleep clinics reported record-high cases of insomnia with no clear physiological cause. Therapists began noticing a strange pattern in patients, emotional flattening. Fewer mood swings, but also fewer peaks of joy. A kind of quiet neutrality settling over large parts of the population. In Sweden, a research team published findings linking long-term nut-rich diets to consistent suppression of cortisol spikes. Good for stress? Perhaps. But cortisol also plays a key role in survival instincts. Meanwhile, fertility specialists saw unexplained hormonal irregularities in young adults with clean eating profiles. Across tech hubs and urban centers, productivity soared, but so did burnout, detachment, and chronic fatigue. And still, no one sounded the alarm. Because how do you raise concern about something that seems healthy? Or worse, feels good? In 2025, the World Health Nutrition Assembly quietly removed a line about daily nut consumption from its dietary guidelines. No explanation. Just gone. Some scientists demanded answers. Others chose silence. But those who kept digging began to notice something else. Those who didn't consume nuts daily responded differently. Sharper emotional reactions, greater hormonal flexibility, less neural blunting. And so, a disturbing new question emerged. Have we unknowingly split into two biological paths, those gradually shifting into a flatter, chemically balanced state, and those resisting it? Not a new species. Not yet. But a divergence. Evolution, not by nature, but by diet. And the real question isn't what happens next. It's whether we'll even care enough to stop it once we've crossed the threshold. So now we stand at a crossroads. Not with panic, but with perspective. Because the story you've just heard, about nuts, about subtle shifts, about quiet biological changes, isn't just about food. It's about habits. Patterns we trust blindly. Narratives we repeat without questioning. We're told to eat clean, live smart, optimize everything. But at what cost? When a healthy ritual becomes routine, and routine becomes dependency, we stop noticing the shift. Until one day, we wake up and we're not quite ourselves. And here lies the real dilemma. Do we continue forward, trusting that science will catch up? That our bodies will adapt? That normal will evolve into something new, calmer, quieter, maybe even more efficient? Or do we pause and ask the hard questions? Is the pursuit of control worth the quiet erosion of our natural complexity? In trying to perfect human biology, are we unintentionally simplifying it? Stripping away the chaos, the intensity, the spark that makes us human? This isn't a warning against nuts. It's a call to awareness. Because evolution doesn't just happen in nature. It happens in kitchens, in choices, in silence. And maybe, just maybe, the future of humanity won't be decided by war or machines or climate, but by the things we put into our bodies every single day, without thinking twice. You remember how we started this story? with the idea that something as innocent as a handful of nuts could be changing you? At the time, maybe it felt far away, like science fiction, like a stretch. But now, be honest, doesn't it feel just close enough to be real? Because the truth is, these changes don't knock on the door. They don't announce themselves. They just happen. Silently. Gradually. And one day, you wake up and realize something's different. Maybe your sleep isn't what it used to be. Maybe your emotions feel a little dulled. Maybe the fire you used to have is just softer now. That's what scares me. Not the data, not the theories, but the fact that we might never notice we've changed until it's already done. And I'll be honest, I used to eat nuts every day, religiously. Almond butter in the morning, walnuts in my salad, cashews in the afternoon. It felt healthy, safe, smart. But now, I'm not so sure. And I wonder, how many other things do we consume, trust, repeat, without ever asking why? So let me ask you something. Have you noticed any changes in yourself lately? Subtle ones? Hard to explain? Could they be connected to something you do every day without thinking? Leave a comment. Share your experience. Because this might not just be my story. It might be yours, too. And if we're already changing, the real question is, who are we becoming? And are you okay with that?